Hey, and welcome back to another video. I'm going to be talking about how you can be picking a niche, okay? So if you're just starting out, if you don't have a niche yet and you're just trying to find your way through the trenches and actually find a good niche for you, and there's probably a lot of questions that you're asking yourself. Trust me, I've probably been through 5 or 6 different niches, and some were successful, some weren't, and there's many reasons behind that. But if I had the knowledge that I do now, back then, I would only have ever had one niche, okay? And it comes down to a few different factors. But let's just start right at the top, okay? So what is a niche? Well, by definition, a niche is a specialized segment of the market for a particular kind of product or service. So for example, as an agency owner or a coach, you could be going after gyms, dentists, e-commerce brands, plumbers, life coaches, insurance agents, lawyers, commercial cleaners. The list goes on, okay? It really doesn't matter what one you pick. Based on theory and based on other people's success, you can make 10K a month, you can make 100K a month, you can make a crazy amount of money in whatever niche, okay? And we'll get into a checklist on what you need to be thinking about when deciding your niche. But firstly, I want to talk about the importance of picking a niche and why you shouldn't just service everyone and anyone who needs a new website or who needs leads. Like, it's super important that you pick a niche, okay? You don't want to be a jack of all trades and master of none. For example, if you offer leads for any business, so like lead generation, you can't possibly speak to somebody on an emotional level, right? And people buy on emotion. So if there's no emotional attachment, there's no sale, okay? So you'll never see an agency that services 100 different niches at one time and be super successful, okay? It's impossible. Their profit margins will be non-existent, their stress levels will be through the roof, and we'll get into why, okay? And also, multiple niches does not equal more opportunities. Some people say to me, hey James, I want to service everyone because I want the most amount of opportunity. That's completely the wrong way of thinking about it, essentially, okay? So please pick one niche, because without a niche, you won't be able to properly target your customer through the lead generation systems and sales process that we preach and teach and also do for you, okay? We use the same systems to scale to 7 figures and beyond, all right? And multiple other people that we've worked with and connected with are doing exactly the same thing. So how do you pick a niche? That's a very good question, right? So in my experience, it should be based on 3 different pillars. Pillar 1 is interests. So what interests you to the point where you enjoy researching about and learning about a particular niche, okay? Are you interested in cars? Are you interested in going to the gym? Are you interested in digital marketing as a whole? Maybe you prefer e-commerce because you're more tech savvy. Have you got interests in commercial cleaning? Like, what excites you when you look at a long list of potential niches, right? Also, the second pillar is experience. So what have you experienced throughout your career so far? What businesses have you worked for? What have you been exposed to? For example, for myself, I worked for a large e-commerce brand in the UK for 3 years before starting my agency, okay? And that's why one of my very first niches that I picked was e-commerce, because I had experience running ads on Facebook, Google, doing social media content for 3 years prior. So it was only natural that I had experience and a certain level of interest, but also the third pillar, which is skills. What skills do you have? Are you good at media buying? Are you good at content creation? Are you a graphic designer? Are you great at marketing? Are you good at copywriting? Do you love fitness? Are you a bodybuilder? Like, what skills do you have which you can then transcend into the service you're delivering for your agency or coaching business, okay? So think about it like this before jumping into a niche just because someone else is doing it and you're seeing someone else scale with e-commerce, for example, okay? It's important you pick a niche that you can communicate with whilst understanding their pain points on a deep level to ensure they feel heard and understood, whilst trying to offer them value and results in exchange for their money, okay? So let me say that one more time. It is important you pick a niche you can communicate with whilst understanding their pain points on a deep level to ensure they feel heard and understood while you're trying to offer them value and results in exchange for money. If the person you are selling does not truly believe that you understand them on an emotional and a very deep level, and you understand what they're going through and why they're going through it and how you can help them, they're not going to pay you a single penny, okay? So why does one niche equal scalability, where some people think multiple niches think more money, more opportunities? Okay, so by choosing one niche, you only need one funnel, one offer, and one service to generate 7 figures in net annual revenue. If you have multiple niches, you will need multiple funnels, multiple offers, services, and your time will be spread very, very thin, leaving you with more than one business inside your agency. For example, if you work with gyms, dentists, and e-commerce brands, that has 3 different fulfillment options, 3 different sales funnels, and essentially 3 different businesses, okay, is the biggest mistake anyone can make when starting an agency or coaching business. Please, please listen to what I'm saying. You want to become a specialist. The importance of brand authority has never been more important. For a business to be seen as a credible choice, they must build trust. A great example of this is when you rent out a house, most estate agents in the UK use contractors who do a bit of everything. They're known as handymen or a handyman, right? They get paid low hourly wages to fix things fast. I, for example, just moved into a property which I'm renting out, okay? A handyman came in and fixed about 20 different items off a list, okay? Now, for example, he fixed some of our bathroom tiles. He actually did a worse job than it was previously. And the reason is he's not experienced or not skilled enough in that one area of home improvement. He is not a tiler. He cannot tile tiles, right? He isn't the man for the job. But from a real estate perspective, it's a cheap, profitable solution for them to help, their tenants who are renting out houses. However, from a business satisfaction standpoint, if I'm ever in the future going to go and get my bathroom tiles refitted, I promise you I am never going to go to anyone but a specialist. So it should be the same thing for you, okay? However, these contractors do often do a below average job, and that is, like I said, it's because they're a jack of all trades and a master of none, and that's not what you want to be. And if money was not an issue, they would have hired specialists, because it's all about money, right? If you have a business owner or a homeowner who has a strong pain that needs solving and they have the money, they're going to pay, right? If they don't have the money, then they have to go and get a credit card or they have to go and get a loan. And that's how they solve their pain, by paying for a service, right? Sometimes you don't have a choice. If someone's business was about to fail and they're going to lose everything they've worked for, but they knew if they paid for your service, it would revive their business and scale to unforeseen heights, they would pay you whatever it costs, okay? So you have to remember this. If you're going to sell someone something, they have to need it, okay? We'll get into that in a bit more. But food for thought on all of this specialist segment, do you think Usain Bolt would have broken the world record in the 100-meter sprint if he also trained in equestrian? If he did 2 different sports, completely different to each other, required 2 different sets of skills, 2, focuses in his life, of course he never would have broken the 100-meter sprint world record. Never, not in a million years, right? It's because he dedicated his time to one craft. And that is exactly what you should do. If you want to be the best of the best of the best, you have to focus on one niche, one service, one avatar, okay? And now we'll go into the biggest mistakes to avoid. Everyone likes to think that saturation is the biggest problem in the agency or coaching world. And that just isn't true. There's actually no such thing as an overtly saturated niche. And I know this because I've scaled an e-commerce agency to multiple 6 figures during a pandemic where every man and their dog was making an e-commerce agency, okay? Everyone was doing Loom videos. Everyone was sending cold emails. Everyone was using a very similar offer, but I was still able to collect 20 clients for my agency and make the most money I've ever made, right? But it was the most saturated niche. So if you're sat there at 0 clients and you think because there's a lot of agency owners going after a similar avatar or the same niche, that doesn't mean you cannot outperform them, work harder, have a better offer, and actually go in and take, a very, very small percentage of that whole outcome, right? So you've got to look at it like this. You only need 10 clients to pay you $2,000 a month to make $20,000 a month. Obvious, right? Or you only need 44 clients to make $1 million in annual revenue. okay? So if your niche has more than 50,000 businesses, that is 0.088% of that niche. That is enough clients for 1,136 agencies to make $1 million every single year. And let me tell you something that's absolute fact. 80% of agencies are below 10K a month. That's just fact, right? So really, you're the only competition is going to be 227 agencies fighting over 50,000 businesses, okay? Which works out to 220 clients per agency. Now, if you're top 10% of that 227, imagine how many clients your agency can have. Baseline is $440,000 every single month, okay? So please don't talk about saturation, especially when you're below 10K a month or 0 clients a month, okay? What is the biggest way to succeed? Number one is innovation. So you should always avoid copying every person you see that is doing better than you, because you'll never be able to beat someone at their own game. If you see someone using a particular script or particular framework and you copy them word for word, when they go and innovate on their own script and their own messaging, you are left playing the old game, playing the game that isn't no longer getting the results. So you have to constantly be trying to innovate on different frameworks, different messaging, different copywriting, different offers, everything like that. It's a constantly evolving game, okay? I want you to think about something. You can look at someone and be like, how can I improve on what you're doing? What are you doing that I can do better, okay? And how can you stand out from the rest? And then this also coincides with, finding a blue ocean. Look at niches no one is talking about. Most people copy and paste the same scripts, offers and services, and they also copy and paste the same niche, like e-commerce, right? But if you actually look for a long list of different businesses that you can help scale with high ticket services, there's probably hundreds of untapped niches which you can go in, have a really good offer and explode, 40 clients in the first, 3 months and make $1 million a year, right? So sometimes it's worth just spending that a little bit more time finding a blue ocean opportunity before just trying to copy and paste everyone else. And the most important thing is do not quit. You won't see success overnight. Very rarely does that happen. And it can take months or even years to find yourself at the top of your niche. What is certain is if you quit when it becomes difficult, then you will fail 100%, okay? That's a fact. So you may have a hard week, you may have a hard month, you may have a hard year. But if you continuously get better 1% every single day, you're only going to improve. You're never going to go backwards, okay? Just try and get better. Try and improve your script. Try and improve your sales tactics. Try and hire better team members. Try and increase the value of your fulfillment. Try and get your clients better results. How can you improve 1% every day in all of those areas? And then in 365 days, you've 3x, 4x your growth just by focusing on the next step rather than the step that is 100 steps away, okay? Now I'm going to break down one of the most important parts of picking a niche, and that is how to actually pick your niche based on 8 different points of criteria. I'm going to break them down because it's really important that you actually go through this just to make sure it's a validated niche. Number one is, does this niche have more than 50,000 businesses? Okay, so you could be like, how many gyms are there in the US, right? And then you can be like, okay, it's more than 50,000, tick. Does this niche have a pain point you can solve? Do they need your help? Are gym owners generally struggling to scale? Like, is it a common pain point? Is it important to them or not? If, you're going after a particular niche and there's no obvious, help that they need, don't go after them. Can they afford high ticket prices? Do they have money, right? Students, unemployed people, they don't have money, so you wouldn't try and help them with a high ticket service, right? But dentists, lawyers, we all know they have money. They have high salaries, so they have a lot of money. They can afford your services, okay? Are they expanding or declining? So is your niche growing? If your niche is not expanding year on year and it's going the other way, it's decreasing or shrinking, it's not a good idea, because in 5 years, you're going to have less opportunity, and it's not going to be worth trying to get involved. You want to go after a niche that is expanding. Probably why e-commerce is such a saturated niche, because it's growing so fast. Like, if you look at the maths and look at the statistics and the analysis, it is growing crazy amounts, especially in the pandemic as well, okay? And next one is, are you interested in this niche? Do you actually have a genuine interest and care about learning in this niche. If you are the only if you are only in this because everyone else does or is in this, or it looks easy, do not start, okay? You have to have a certain level of interest in who you're helping, because otherwise you're not going to get very far. If you're just motivated by the money you can receive, I promise you, you're going to quickly get tired, you're going to quickly fall off the bandwagon, and it's just all going to fall apart. So make sure you have a certain level of interest. Are there other agencies already succeeding? Competition is a significant factor, okay? If other coaches or agencies are succeeding, there's a high chance you will too. I promise you. If you see guys that are doing like, guys and girls that are doing 100K a month, million a month, just crazy, crazy numbers, it's a good sign that it's a great niche, okay? It is, it's a bit backwards, but it's true, okay? Does the niche leverage social media? Does this niche post on Facebook? Does it post on Instagram? Does it, post on TikTok? Does it post? Where does it post? Is a question. Because if they do generally post on these platforms on social media, it'll be much easier for you to contact them, because most outbound business to business, a lot of it is social media relevant. Obviously, you've got cold calling, cold email, which is always going to be true. But then you've got to look at how many of those can I actually scrape, and then that comes back to, is there more than 50,000 of them? And you can tick that at the beginning. And then lastly, do you speak their language? Can you resonate with them and understand their way of thinking? If you would struggle to communicate and sell yourself, do not start, okay? So for example, I'd feel very awkward talking to dentists, and I've tried. I can't resonate with them. I can't understand them very well. I've tried doing a dentist agency a few years ago. I got on a few sales calls, most awkward I've ever felt in my life. Like, I don't like wearing shirts, and I felt like I had to wear a shirt and like a blazer, and make myself look really presentable, and like that isn't me. So like I hate the idea of doing that, and that in itself makes me feel very uncomfortable and completely the opposite of natural, okay? So make sure you feel comfortable speaking to these people, because you're going to be doing it every single day for as long as you have your agency. Okay, so the key is to tick at least 6 out of 8 of these boxes, and if that is the case, then I would agree with you, your niche is validated. Okay, so you can use this for your own benefit. The main ones are obviously, is there enough people? Are you interested? Do you speak the language? Are there other people who are already succeeding? And can they afford high ticket prices? Basically, they're all important. All right, so just try and tick off at least 6, and I feel like then that is definitely validated. One thing I would say, really, really important, if it is less than 50K businesses in your niche, don't expect to scale much past 20K, 30K a month, because depending on how many actually there is, if there's only 500 businesses in your niche, 10K a month is going to be as hard as 100K a month in other niches, okay? So that's kind of like the facts of that, but just choose wisely based on what your goals are, how much money you want to make, and how much time you want to invest in this agency space or coaching space. And then we're going down to the market research. When it comes to niche market research, if you have not put in the work, you will fail. That's the hard truth. The importance of understanding the niche is undeniable. Before crafting an offer, you have to walk in their shoes and truly understand them as a business owner. Now, I want you to ask yourself these questions. What makes them get up every morning and go to work? What struggles do they face on a daily basis? What do they enjoy? What do they find challenging about growing their business? How do they speak? What language do they use? How do they operate and communicate with their customers? How do they view their business? Is it a cash cow? Is it a passion? Or is it just a job? Why do they do what they do? Why do they need help from you? It feels like I'm rhyming, but I'm not really trying. Why have some been more successful than others? And why have your competitors seen some success in this niche? And it's just a few. Obviously, there's 100 different questions you can ask yourself to kind of get to grips with your niche when doing some research. But I want to give you a kind of how-to research, because I feel like this is the best kind of format to think of this and kind of put it into action. So you can either interview people, you can ask to speak to your niche and ask questions like a podcast format, no sales, just pure genuine conversations, and you can just connect with them in different groups online. You can go to public events and just try and build rapport, or you can just generally try and outright sell. So you can just go and just take sales calls time after time and just try and get on as many as you can, because the only way of getting really good at selling is to repeatedly do it over and over again. I've probably taken over 2,000 sales calls and I'm still not great. I mean, I can definitely hold my own, but like, if I didn't, I would be awful. When I started, I was dreadful. I was a nervous wreck. It was awful. Like the dentist story, yeah, not good. If I still have the recording for that, I couldn't even watch it back. Okay, so then action. This is optional, but I feel like this is a great one because I've seen this work so well. What you want to do after finding a niche is just create a quick podcast. So like just a hypothetical podcast. It doesn't actually have to have any branding or anything, just you, right? Create a podcast to learn about the struggles of growing a business in said niche. Send out 100 emails to 100 business owners in your niche. You probably land about 20 podcasts over the course of a month. But do a podcast, upload the content to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, rewatch them and make notes, find common pain points and use those points to craft your offer, which we'll get to in the later training. And after creating your offer, you can go back to the 20 people you spoke to and offer them a free trial of your new offer with the goal of getting 5 to start and kickstart your growth. And then within 90 days, you'll have a testimonial to use for future sales. Okay? So if you think I don't want to do a podcast, when I say podcast, it's essentially a sales call, but you're just not selling them. You're like, hey, doctor, whoever, how are you today? How is it? How is business going? Is it good? Yeah. What are you struggling with? Why is that? What are your goals for the future? Like, how are you going to get there? How long have you been doing it for? Like, just general questions. Could be a 20 to 30 minute podcast. You can then, upload that to all social media platforms. And then, like I said, you've got content, you've got social proof, you have credibility now in the niche. You've done the hard work. You've proven to the niche that you actually care. And then you can use that to generate interest for when you have created your offer. Okay. So like I said, it's not a sprint, this is a marathon. If you do it correctly, you will win. A lot of people struggle to get their first client because they just try and sell, and they're not very good at selling, they haven't got a great offer, all of these things. But I promise you, this is a great system. I've seen other people do this and it works really, really well. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to leave this one here because I feel like I've talked about enough. I don't want to make these videos 2 hours long and you'll get bored. I feel like 20 minutes or so is a good amount. I feel like there's a lot for you to learn, especially if you don't already have a niche. If you already have a niche, I'll do a separate video on shiny object syndrome. That's something that I've experienced multiple times and probably still even to this day, and I probably will forever. It's very, very common in entrepreneurs, business owners, so I will do another video about that. But yeah, stay tuned and hopefully you guys learn something new, and girls, of course. And yeah, cheers.